The violent explosion of a sneeze echoed through the crowded train car, causing several passengers to flinch and shift away from the source. Sophia Reynolds looked up from her book to see a tall man across the aisle struggling through what appeared to be a sneezing fit. His broad shoulders hunched as he tried to contain the next inevitable eruption. Without hesitation, she reached into her bag, pulled out a small pack of tissues, and offered them to him with a kind smile. "Here," she said. "Sounds like you need these more than I do." The man looked up, his eyes watery and nose red, clearly caught off guard by her gesture. He accepted the tissues gratefully, his fingers brushing against hers for just a moment. "Thank you," he managed before another sneeze overtook him. This time he was prepared with a tissue. "Sorry about that, allergies," Sophia smiled. "No worries, I'm always overprepared according to my friends." Never leave home without tissues, a mini first aid kit, and enough snacks to survive being stuck in an elevator for days. That earned her a genuine laugh from the stranger, revealing a dimple in his left cheek that transformed his serious face into something much more approachable. "I should hire you for my emergency preparedness team," he said, his voice surprisingly deep and smooth now that it wasn't interrupted by sneezing. "I'm available for consultation," Sophia quipped, turning slightly in her seat to face him better. "But my rates are steep." One coffee per disaster averted. The train lurched around a curve, and Sophia noticed the expensive cut of his suit for the first time, along with the subtle gold watch peeking from under his cuff. He wasn't wearing the standard office worker attire she was used to seeing on her morning commute. This man's clothes were tailored specifically for him. "I'm Sebastian, by the way," he said, extending his hand. "Sebastian Torres." "Sophia Reynolds," she replied, shaking his hand firmly. His grip was warm and confident, and she couldn't help noticing how her smaller hand fit perfectly in his. "Are you visiting the city? I don't think I've seen you on this train before." Sebastian hesitated briefly before answering. "I usually drive, but my car's in the shop. Thought I'd try public transportation for a change." The train announced Sophia's stop, and she gathered her things with a twinge of disappointment. "This is me. It was nice meeting you, Sebastian. Hope the allergies improve." As she stood up, Sebastian surprised her by standing as well. "Actually, this is my stop too. Mind if I walk with you?" The spring morning was perfect as they emerged from the station, cherry blossoms floating through the air like pink snowflakes. Sebastian sneezed again. "Mystery solved," Sophia said, gesturing to the trees. "Cherry blossoms are beautiful but brutal for allergy sufferers." Sebastian nodded, using another of her tissues. "The price of spring beauty, I suppose." He looked at her curiously. "Where are you headed?" "The Reynolds Art Gallery on 5th, Sophia replied. "I work there as a curator." Something flickered across Sebastian's face recognition, perhaps, but he quickly masked it. "I'm heading that direction too. Would you like to grab coffee on the way? Least I could do for the tissue donor who saved my morning." Sophia checked her watch. She had time before the gallery opened, and there was something intriguing about this tall stranger with the expensive suit and humble sneeze. "Sure, there's a great place just around the corner." The coffee shop was busy but not overwhelming, filled with the rich aroma of freshly ground beans and the gentle hum of morning conversations. They found a small table by the window where the sunlight streamed in, casting golden highlights across Sebastian's dark hair. "So, art curator," Sebastian said, sipping his Americano. "How does someone get into that line of work?" Sophia warmed her hands around her latte mug. "I've always been drawn to art, but I'm a terrible artist myself. My stick figures look like they have medical conditions. So I studied art history instead, found I had a good eye for curation, and worked my way up." She took a sip of her coffee. "What about you? What do you do when you're not having sneezing fits on public transport?" Sebastian hesitated again, that same brief pause she'd noticed earlier. "I'm in business, investment management primarily." "Sounds fancy," Sophia teased. "Is that why you're dressed like you're about to close a billion-dollar deal at 8 a.m.? He laughed, looking down at his suit. "Do I look that stuffy?" "Not stuffy, just important," Sophia clarified. "Like someone who makes decisions that affect a lot of people." Sebastian's expression shifted slightly, becoming more guarded. I suppose that's accurate enough. They finished their coffee amidst easy conversation, discovering a shared love of classic films and hiking trails just outside the city. When they reached the gallery, Sebastian paused, looking up at the elegant building with interest. "This is quite a place," he commented. "I've heard good things about the new modernist exhibition." Sophia beamed with pride. "That was my project, actually. Took 6 months to curate." "Then I definitely need to see it," Sebastian said. "Would it be presumptuous to ask if you might be free for dinner sometime?" "To tell me more about the exhibition, of course." Sophia felt a flutter in her stomach that had nothing to do with the coffee. "Not presumptuous at all. I'd like that." They exchanged numbers, and Sebastian watched as Sophia disappeared into the gallery, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth despite another sneeze that threatened. What Sophia didn't know as she headed inside was that Sebastian Torres wasn't just any businessman. He was the CEO of Torres Ventures, one of the largest private investment firms in the country, with holdings in everything from tech startups to real estate developments. And he had been considering the Reynolds Gallery as his next acquisition. Inside, Sophia was greeted by her assistant, Mia, whose eyes widened dramatically. "Was that who I think it was? Just a guy I met on the train," Sophia said, confused. "Sebastian something." "Why?" Mia grabbed her phone and quickly pulled up an article, thrusting it toward Sophia. "Sebastian Torres, as in Torres Ventures, the guy who just bought the Westridge building for $200 million. Sophia stared at the photo on the screen. It was unmistakably her tissue recipient, though in the photo he looked much more commanding, standing in front of a sleek skyscraper with a confident smile. "That can't be right," Sophia muttered, but the evidence was undeniable. Why wouldn't he say anything? "Maybe he liked being treated like a normal person for once," Mia suggested. "Or maybe he's planning to buy the gallery and was scoping it out." That thought made Sophia's blood run cold. The Reynolds Gallery had been struggling financially for years. Her boss, Margaret, had hinted at potential investors, but nothing concrete had materialized. Could Sebastian be eyeing the gallery as just another acquisition? The rest of the day passed in a blur as Sophia tried to focus on her work while her mind kept returning to Sebastian. Why hadn't he mentioned who he was? Was this all some kind of corporate espionage? By closing time, she'd convinced herself that the dinner invitation was just a ruse to get insider information about the gallery's financial situation. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sebastian. "Looking forward to dinner tomorrow. Any preferences?" Sophia stared at the message, unsure how to respond. Finally, she typed, "Actually, we should talk. I know who you are." The typing indicator appeared immediately, disappeared, then reappeared. "Finally, I thought you might Google me. Can I explain in person? Coffee shop from this morning in 30 minutes. Sophia agreed, her stomach knotted with anxiety. When she arrived, Sebastian was already there, sitting at the same table they'd occupied that morning. He'd loosened his tie and looked more approachable, but Sophia couldn't help seeing him differently now, knowing his true identity. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked without preamble, sliding into the seat across from him. Sebastian sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Because for once, someone offered me tissues without knowing my net worth or wanting something from me. Do you know how rare that is?" Sophia crossed her arms. "Are you interested in buying the Reynolds Gallery?" He looked genuinely surprised. "What? No, why would you think that?" "Because Torres Ventures just acquired the Westridge building, and our gallery is struggling. And it seemed too coincidental that you'd show up on my train the same week rumors about potential investors started circulating." Understanding dawned on Sebastian's face. "I see why you'd think that, but no, my being on that train was pure coincidence. My car really is in the shop, and I have no interest in acquiring the Reynolds Gallery." "Then why were you so interested in it?" Sophia pressed, still suspicious. "Because you work there," he said simply. "And I was interested in you." The sincerity in his eyes was hard to doubt, but Sophia had been burned before by smooth-talking men. "It's just hard to believe that someone like you would be interested in someone like me." Sebastian leaned forward. "Someone like me? You mean someone who can't even remember to take allergy medication during cherry blossom season?" Someone who was completely unprepared until a kind stranger offered tissues. His eyes softened. Sophia, I liked you before you knew who I was. Nothing's changed for me. Everything's changed, she countered. You're Sebastian Torres. Your company practically owns half the city. That's what I do, not who I am, he insisted. If my job title is going to be a problem for you, I understand. But I'd like a chance to show you that I'm still the same guy who was grateful for your tissues this morning. Sophia studied him, searching for any sign of deception. Finding none, she slowly nodded. All right, dinner tomorrow. But I'm choosing the place, and it's going to be somewhere normal people eat. Sebastian's smile was worth the risk she was taking. Deal. The next evening, Sophia led Sebastian to a small, family-owned Italian restaurant tucked away on a side street. The owners greeted her by name, and the intimate space was filled with delicious aromas and the sounds of genuine laughter. I come here at least once a week, Sophia explained as they were shown to a corner table. Best knock-eye in the city, and they don't care if you're wearing sneakers or Laubautins. Sebastian seemed to relax as he took in the unpretentious surroundings. This is perfect, he said, loosening his tie. He'd come straight from work, still in a suit, but had at least left his jacket in the car. I can't remember the last time I ate somewhere that didn't require a reservation made months in advance. That sounds exhausting, Sophia said, genuinely curious. Is that what your life is usually like, exclusive restaurants and business meetings? Too often, Sebastian admitted. But that's not all of it. I do enjoy my work, building something meaningful. My father started Torres Ventures with just enough money to rent a tiny office. I watched him work 18-hour days to grow it into something that could support our family. When he died 5 years ago, I took over and promised to honor what he built. The vulnerability in his voice touched Sophia. That's really admirable, she said softly. You must miss him. Every day, Sebastian nodded, his eyes distant for a moment before refocusing on her. What about your family? Are they all as prepared for emergencies as you are? Sophia laughed. My dad's a retired firefighter, so emergency preparedness is basically our family religion. My mom's a high school art teacher, that's where I got my love of art. They live about an hour outside the city now. Their conversation flowed easily through dinner, touching on childhood memories, favorite books, and their shared love of the ocean. Sebastian was attentive and genuine, asking thoughtful questions about her work at the gallery and sharing stories of his own early career struggles. By the time they shared a tiramisu for dessert, Sophia had almost forgotten about his CEO status. Almost. I should tell you, Sebastian said as they walked along the riverfront after dinner, I might actually have a connection to your gallery that I wasn't aware of until today. Sophia tensed. What kind of connection? My father apparently donated to the Reynolds Gallery regularly. Small amounts, nothing flashy. I found it in some old records I was going through today. He loved art, though he never had much time to visit galleries. Wait, Sophia stopped walking. Torres, your father wasn't Joseph Torres, was he? Sebastian looked surprised. Yes, he was. Did you know him? No, but his name is on our donor wall. He contributed to our educational programs for years. Sophia shook her head in disbelief. Small world. Indeed, Sebastian murmured, his hand finding hers naturally as they continued walking. Maybe it was fate that I forgot my allergy medication today. Or maybe it was just allergies and good timing, Sophia countered, but she didn't pull her hand away. Over the next few weeks, Sophia and Sebastian fell into a comfortable routine. He would meet her after work, and they would explore different parts of the city together. Sebastian showed her hidden viewpoints only locals knew about, while Sophia introduced him to small galleries featuring emerging artists. She was surprised to discover he had a genuine appreciation for art, particularly abstract expressionism. My father used to say that business is an art form too, Sebastian explained as they examined a bold Jackson Pollock-inspired piece. It's about seeing patterns where others see chaos, taking calculated risks, and sometimes making a mess before creating something beautiful. That's surprisingly poetic for a businessman, Sophia teased. Sebastian grinned. We're not all spreadsheets and profit margins, you know. As they spent more time together, Sophia learned that Sebastian was indeed passionate about his work, but not in the cold, calculating way she had initially assumed. His company funded numerous community programs and prioritized ethical investments. He worked long hours but made time for the things that mattered, including her. One evening, Sebastian invited Sophia to his penthouse apartment for dinner. He had promised to cook for her, claiming his pasta carbonara was life-changing. Stepping into his home for the first time, Sophia was struck not by its luxury, though it was certainly luxurious, but by how lived in it felt. Bookshelves lined the walls, filled with well-worn volumes. A baby grand piano stood in one corner, sheet music spread across it. "You play?" Sophia asked, running her fingers lightly over the keys. "Since I was 6, Sebastian replied from the kitchen, where he was chopping garlic with impressive skill. "My mother insisted, said it would teach me patience. Did it work?" He looked up with a smile. "Not according to my executive team." After dinner, which was indeed exceptional, they sat on his balcony overlooking the city lights. Sebastian seemed unusually quiet, lost in thought. "Penny for your thoughts," Sophia prompted. "I've been offered a position overseeing our new European division," he said after a moment. "It would mean relocating to London for at least a year, possibly 2. Sophia felt her heart sink. "When would you leave?" "That's the thing." Sebastian turned to face her, taking her hands in his. "I haven't decided if I'm taking it. Before I met you, it would have been an automatic yes. Career advancement, new challenges, all that, but now—" "You can't turn down an opportunity like that because of me," Sophia said quickly, though the thought of him leaving created a hollow feeling in her chest. "We've only known each other for a month." "A month that's changed everything for me," Sebastian said quietly. "I know it sounds crazy, but I've never felt this way about anyone before." "Neither have I," Sophia admitted, "but I don't want to be the reason you don't follow your dreams." Sebastian brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch gentle. "What if my dreams are changing?" The intensity in his eyes made Sophia's breath catch. When he leaned in to kiss her, she met him halfway, her hands finding their way to the back of his neck. The kiss deepened, and Sophia lost herself in the moment, in the feel of his arms around her, in the certainty that whatever this was between them, it was something real. But in the days that followed, doubts began to creep in. Was she really falling for Sebastian, or just the idea of him? And how could she possibly fit into his world of board meetings and international business? Sophia had always valued her independence, her simple but fulfilling life. Sebastian's world was so different from her own. Those doubts were compounded when a photo of them leaving a restaurant together appeared on a local gossip site, accompanied by speculation about the mystery woman seen with billionaire CEO Sebastian Torres. The unwanted attention left Sophia shaken. "I'm sorry about that," Sebastian said when he called to check on her. "I should have warned you this might happen." "It's not your fault," Sophia assured him, though she felt unsettled by the experience. "I just never thought about what it means to date someone in the public eye." "Date?" Sebastian repeated, and Sophia could hear the smile in his voice. "So we're dating, aren't we?" she challenged, grateful he couldn't see her blushing. "Absolutely," he confirmed. "I just like hearing you say it." Despite the momentary levity, the incident forced Sophia to confront the reality of what a relationship with Sebastian would mean. Not just the occasional paparazzi photo, but navigating 2 very different worlds. When Sebastian invited her to accompany him to a charity gala the following weekend, Sophia agreed with trepidation. This would be their first official public appearance together, and she was nervous about how she would fit in with the elite crowd. The night of the gala, Sebastian picked her up in a sleek black car, his expression appreciative as he took in her emerald green gown, a vintage piece she'd found years ago and saved for special occasions. "You look absolutely stunning," he said, his eyes never leaving hers as the driver pulled away from the curb. "You clean up pretty well yourself," Sophia replied, though pretty well was an understatement. In his tuxedo, Sebastian was breathtakingly handsome, the formal attire highlighting his broad shoulders and confident posture. The gala was held at the city's most prestigious hotel, the ballroom transformed with cascading flowers and twinkling lights. As they entered, Sophia felt the weight of curious glances, heard the whispers that followed them. Sebastian kept his hand at the small of her back, a reassuring presence as he introduced her to colleagues and friends. "Sebastian, there you are." A striking woman in her 50s approached them, her smile warm but assessing as she looked at Sophia. "And who might this be, Victoria? This is Sophia Reynolds." "Sophia, Victoria Chen, my chief operations officer and the person who really runs Tora's ventures while I take the credit," Sebastian said with genuine affection. Victoria laughed. "He's not wrong. Lovely to meet you, Sophia. Sebastian mentioned you work at the Reynolds Gallery. I adored your recent exhibition on female modernists." Sophia relaxed slightly, grateful for the familiar territory of art discussion. "Thank you. That was a labor of love for sure." As the evening progressed, Sophia found herself surprisingly comfortable in the rarefied atmosphere. Many of Sebastian's colleagues were genuinely interesting people, passionate about their charitable foundations and cultural patronage. And watching Sebastian in this element, confident, articulate, but never arrogant, she gained a new appreciation for the man he was. It was during a quiet moment when they had stepped outside onto a terrace for some fresh air that Sebastian broached the subject of London again. "I've made my decision," he said, his expression serious as he gazed out at the city skyline. "I'm staying." Sophia felt a mixture of relief and concern. "Because of me, partly," he admitted. "But also because I've realized something. I don't need to be the one to open our London office. I have incredibly talented people who can do that, what I need." He turned to face her, taking her hands in his. "Is to be where you are, Sebastian," Sophia began, but he continued. "I'm not asking you to append your life or commit to anything you're not ready for. I'm just telling you that when I think about my future, you're in it. And I'm willing to rearrange my priorities to make that possible." Sophia felt tears prick her eyes. "I've been so scared of how different our worlds are." "They're not as different as you think," Sebastian said gently. "We both love art, good food, quiet evenings. We both value family and honesty. The rest is just packaging. Pretty expensive packaging in your case," Sophia joked weakly. Sebastian laughed. "True, but underneath, I'm still the guy who needs tissues from kind strangers." 3 months later, Sophia stood in the middle of her apartment, surrounded by moving boxes. She surveyed the half-empty space with a mixture of nostalgia and excitement. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sebastian. "Cars loaded, ready when you are." They had decided to move in together, choosing a new place that would be theirs, rather than her moving into his penthouse or staying in her smaller apartment. It was a compromise, like many they had navigated in their relationship. There had been adjustments, of course. Sophia had to get used to occasionally being recognized in public, to the scrutiny that came with dating someone of Sebastian's status. Sebastian had to learn that not every problem could be solved with money or connections, that sometimes Sophia needed to fight her own battles in the art world. But the foundation they had built was strong. Sebastian had supported her when she was offered a promotion at the gallery, celebrating her success as enthusiastically as any of his own business wins. Sophia had stood by him through a particularly stressful corporate merger, bringing him coffee during late nights and reminding him to take breaks. As she picked up the last box filled with art books Sebastian had teased her about, but insisted they keep, Sophia reflected on how unexpectedly her life had changed since that morning on the train. One simple act of kindness, offering tissues to a sneezing stranger, had altered her path completely. Sebastian was waiting by his car when she emerged from the building. He immediately took the box from her arms, setting it in the trunk before pulling her into an embrace. "Second thoughts?" he asked, noticing her contemplative expression. "Just thinking about how we met," Sophia replied, leaning into him. "If you hadn't been having an allergy attack that day." "I would have found you somehow," Sebastian said with certainty, "though I'm grateful for the cherry blossoms and my forgotten medication." As they drove toward their new home, Sophia's hand resting comfortably in his, She silently thanked whatever twist of fate had put them on the same train that spring morning. Their relationship wasn't perfect, no relationship was, but it was real and honest and built on something more substantial than his wealth or her beauty. 6 months later, on a crisp autumn evening, Sebastian took Sophia back to the riverfront where they had walked after their first real date. The trees were illuminated with soft lights, and a string quartet played nearby, an arrangement Sebastian had made but that Sophia assumed was part of a regular park event. When he dropped to one knee, presenting a ring that was elegant rather than flashy because he knew her taste so well, Sophia wasn't entirely surprised. They had discussed marriage, their future together, the possibility of children someday. But the emotion that overwhelmed her as he asked her to be his wife was still powerful enough to bring tears to her eyes. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "yes." As Sebastian slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood to kiss her amidst applause from the musicians and a few delighted passers-by, Sophia thought about the incredible journey that had led them here. From a chance meeting on a crowded train to this moment of perfect clarity, the knowledge that she had found her person, her partner, her home. Their wedding, a year later, was an intimate affair despite Sebastian's prominence. They exchanged vows in the sculpture garden of the Reynolds Gallery, surrounded by art and the people they loved most. Sophia's father walked her down the aisle, and Victoria Chen stood as Sebastian's best person. In his vows, Sebastian included a line that made everyone laugh through happy tears. "I promise to always carry tissues, just in case, because the best things in my life started when you shared yours with me." And as they moved through life together, through the renovation of their first house, the birth of their daughter 2 years later, through career changes and challenges, and joys, Sebastian kept that promise. There was always a pack of tissues in his pocket, a small reminder of how the simplest gesture of kindness had led to the greatest love of his life. On their 5th anniversary, as they sat in their backyard watching their daughter play, Sophia rested her head on Sebastian's shoulder. "Do you ever think about how differently things could have gone if I hadn't had tissues that day, or if you'd taken a different train?" Sebastian kissed the top of her head. "Sometimes. But then, I remember what my father used to say about business and art, that the most beautiful things often come from seemingly random moments. I think love works the same way." Sophia smiled, watching as their daughter presented them with a fistful of dandelions, her small face serious with the importance of her gift. Sebastian accepted the flowers with the same reverence he showed for the rare art they collected, and Sophia felt her heart expand with love for both of them. "I think you're right," she said, taking a tissue from Sebastian's pocket as their daughter's enthusiastic hug sent dandelion fluff flying, triggering his allergies once again. "The most beautiful things do come from random moments, and tissues, definitely tissues."